All right, guys, welcome to the Masters of Motion podcast. We are back again, and it's been 2 weeks since the CrossFit Games, give or take,
Right.
Rick.
Right?
Life is starting to move back to normal for me.
Right.
I'm back to training. I still don't feel like overly pushing it in the gym, but I'm back and training. I've got Wadapalooza in 2 weeks, so I got to do something. I can't just sit around.
No,
How about you?
rest.
This episode is powered by Thirdzy, your go-to for game-changing sleep recovery. Imagine hitting your workouts harder and waking up feeling unstoppable. That's what Thirdzy's PM Recovery Collagen does for me. It's like pre-workout, but for your sleep, fueling your body's active recovery processes without any melatonin or sedatives. Just 1 scoop before bed supports deeper, more restorative sleep so you can crush your fitness goals. Ready to experience the best rest and recovery? Visit Thirdzy.com and transform your nights into recovery power hours. Thirdzy, because sleep is the ultimate recovery tool. That's THIRDZY.com. Save 20% with code JASONZZZ. Let's get into the show.
Yes. I felt really good resting the week after, and then did something to my lower back where, I don't know, it came out of nowhere. I'm like, how does this stuff happen? But, I'm tired of not eating well, and that lasted only a week. So back on the plan, and we move out of habit. We move because it's our lifestyle. And while the intensity's not there, we have to move. So I look at everything, and I'm looking at Boulder athlete programming, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna hurt.
Here we go.
I'm like, all right, well, maybe Jason doesn't know if I'm at like 80% intensity. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting the work done, but I'm not pushing it yet. No.
And that's it.
It's
I
mental.
was just talking with someone
It's
today.
just mental.
Yeah, it's this mental, and telling someone today, like, you don't have to go at RPE 10. You don't have to approach every training session at that level. Even as in Boulder Athlete, we have different intensity levels for different workouts. But even within that, you can personally choose, or I personally choose to take it easy. In fact, today I finished the majority of the morning training session, and then I was on these sprint intervals on the rower to finish off the morning. And because I think I was favoring my right calf through the CrossFit Games, and we did a ton of squats. And I, in various capacities, did we squat? I don't even know. Whatever we did, I did something at the Games that made my right hip, my glute in my right hip, just mad. It's still mad. Yeah, and so it hurts when I row right now. And so I was like 2 rounds into this, 250 meter row out of 6 rounds, and I was like, I don't have to do this. It's not going to make me less fit if I just don't do it, and I'm not trying to agitate something. So I just didn't do it, and I did the second session tonight, which felt just fine. We'll work our way back to it. It's funny that you mess up your back or did something to your back.
Yeah.
I almost feel like after the Games, our bodies just really, like, they are. We build all this. Whatever it is.
Right.
Up to the Games, and afterwards, your body's just like, okay.
Yeah. The slightest little thing
Totally.
ticks it off. Yeah, ticks it off.
Just
So,
ticks it up.
not that anybody needs to hear or care, but like all the sandbag work today, I was not going to hinge with my back. I just know it.
Right.
So I did all the squatting, and what I ended up doing was I picked a hero wad because it was September 11th, and I picked one that I knew didn't hinge like that. So the back made it through fine. But I thought it was fitting today to do a hero wad. But boy, all that sandbag work just was going to inflame.
It was just going to make it
whatever
mad.
I did.
And for me, sandbag work was fine. Rowing, of all things, 250 meters was just not in the cards.
Yeah, the way you're hurting. Yeah. So for those 5 listeners we have left that don't want to hear about our games, we have a lot going on, don't we?
There is a lot going on. I think we've got some news, and there's a couple pieces of news I think that we'll bring up. I think one of the first things, and we talked about this just briefly before we started recording, as something that I think it makes sense to talk about. But there was a statement released by Luca Dukic a week and a half ago, right? He released it, and I believe and most listeners probably had read his statement, and then I believe the next day there was a statement by Dave Castro.
Right.
Was it a day or two later?
Yeah, it was right
and
after.
I think it shocked most of us that, Dave is pretty quiet. He's clearly been staying under the radar, hasn't been posting a lot, a little bit of stories, just kind of his normal life, like where he's visiting different gyms and stuff like that. But he posted a very clear apology. And I was
Luca
surprised.
And the family.
Yeah.
About,
really
I
surprised.
think the interpretation of continuing the games or not continuing the games. Certainly that I'm, it was good to see that it happened so quickly thereafter. Like, day after, came right out. So
yeah, totally agree. There was no delay in that. Were you surprised that it felt like Dave broke radio silence? I would imagine that the attorneys for CrossFit, are just telling them like, hey, just, don't talk about this subject at all until the investigation is done and they've got to deal with, any kind of legal ramifications. But Dave just, posts a public apology about, what a misunderstanding. Maybe it was carefully worded, maybe it was not. It just felt like a guy writing a note and apologizing. I found it to be humble and not overly edited. I don't know. Maybe if I was posting it, I would have edited it about 100 times. I would have, had copywriters take a look at it, make sure the lawyers approved of it.
Right.
It looked like something Dave was genuinely felt and wanted to say.
Right, and get it off and not let something fester, because we know if the Luca statement was out there and no response and it was radio silence as usual from HQ, it would have just probably stirred up a lot more. And again, it wasn't directly had anything to do with the event itself. It was a continuation, I think, and the desire or no desire from the family thinking that it was on the Dukic to continue the game. So haven't seen it, sure, find it, look for it. Most people have read it at this point if you're a fan of the sport. Yeah, and it brought up a conversation that I had. You and I talked about this a little bit as well before the show, but someone asked me today, do you think the Masters CrossFit Games next year will be earlier in the season than the games? And you and I know, we've talked to Bob and Joe, that is their intention. Sure. Is to have that before the games, have it be more mid-July as opposed to late August, which I think we would all prefer. I think the whole world would like to have Teenagers Adaptive and Masters happen before the big game, the big games. And all of that is really contingent on how things unfold with, the changes, the investigation, the changes, what might need to happen for the CrossFit Games to continue. My thought is that they will continue, but I don't think any plans can be made. I don't think anyone can book any venues until some of that stuff gets nailed down. What do you think? If you were running CrossFit, would you be making deposits on venues? Well, yeah, the contract is for a couple of years there in Fort Worth. I know that was disclosed. So maybe they're on the hook already. But absent something catastrophic happening, I think you could then wiggle your way out of that if there were no games. But what are they, second week of August? It was second week of August this year or something like that? I believe so. First week of August. First week. Okay, so if right in that range. And that's roughly the usual time. It's leaked a little into August. It used to be back in Carson, used to be late July times, I should say. So if just don't want to think about that. But you know what? The plans are in the works. They generally are at this time. You'll hear the people say, "Wait, we're, 5 months away from the Open or something." So, I mean, right. But I think all that is still on hold until we know what results of, what happened in August, which is terrible. Well, moving on, we both have our fingers crossed, but there are some competitions upcoming. Right. There is Fitness in the Coast. There's Wadapalooza. There's the Legends Championship. I'm competing in Wadapalooza, California on a Masters team with Sam Dancer and Eric Hinman. That should be heaps of fun with those two animals. Yep. They're just beasts. I'm the old guy. I'm making it so that we can be Masters probably. But you have dates for qualifiers for all of these events, and we do know that the Legends has been released. NFC is coming up just 2 weeks after you're out in California. Right. Just wrapped up this week was the NorCal Classic, and I know that got a lot of publicity. I think I read somewhere it had a pretty substantial prize purse for the elite individuals or the highest level, which also had read, boy out there, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they any sanctioned event was not allowed to have swimming. And so however they decoupled from CrossFit, they did not make it a sanctioned event, and there was an outdoor event. And I know it was being covered by some folks, and they were making darn sure to point the camera at all of the folks on the paddleboards and jet skis that were out there. And, from what I heard and was able to see, it was really good time, good event. Looked like a lot of fun, had good weather, and that wrapped up. So that was NorCal Classic. We're moving into your weekend out in California as well. I think I saw some of your workouts. I'm glad you get introduced to the worm. That's going to be fun.
I haven't looked much into it. I've just, it's too soon for me to start trying to think. I think there's a 5K beach run. I think we do some max Olympic lifting. I'm trying to think about, running on my calf. I haven't yet. Just probably not even going to run until I do a 5K and hopefully not injure myself. So, of course, it's a beach run. Of course, it's a 5 with Sam Dancer, who's been training for an Ironman, and Eric Kinnaman, who runs, who's done many Ironmans. If they could just carry me, that'd be awesome. Maybe they got to carry a guy. That'd be a fun way to do a team workout. I'll just be the guy in the hammock, and they can carry me.
Unfortunately, you might be attached by the rope, like they attach a lot of team runs. And, they'll just drag you. They'll just drag you along.
It's going to be great.
Those workouts look good. MFC has not said a word yet on workouts, but that's coming up in Fort Wayne last weekend of September. We do have the Legends. Boy, I don't want to get these names confused. The Legends Championship, which will be held in Phoenix again at Arizona State University, December, I believe, 12th through the 15th, somewhere like that. Sure. The qualifier is live now, 3 weeks. We will talk about it a little later, but we just want to get some dates out there. Next up will be a combination of Fittest to the Coast that I think we have some focus on. That's going to be from February 7th through the 9th in 2025 in Charleston. That qualifier, though, that's what's important, is now in less than a month. It's October 3rd through the 29th. They have individuals, teams, and the like there in February. And then everyone's favorite, Miami in January for these cold weather folks, January 23rd through the 26th, 2025 down there in Miami. It is not on MLK weekend, unfortunately. So those who get a day off on Monday to travel, self included, unfortunately don't get that. And the qualifier is going to start, it's also 3 weeks, October 17th through November 4th. So that will be Wadapalooza, Miami. We have to start.
You could just do qualifier after qualifier after qualifier.
Wow.
And just make that your life for the next 6 weeks.
$25 to $35 a qualifier. Just send Competition Corner that money and sign up. Clear all the space on your phone.
Get your videos ready. You will be, you'll be a pro. I mean, you'll literally be, by the time the quarterfinals, semifinals come around again, you will have all the experience. I'm a big fan of qualifiers. I think they're great.
It's great tests. I mean, and for those that might not be able to compete in person that many times during the year, this still simulates enough of competition feel, especially if you're doing qualifier in a gym with a number of people. Everything's laid out, cameras on and rolling, you're competing up against somebody, and the pressure's on. It's not early or morning or late afternoon training by yourself or the adrenaline. And we know the benefits of adrenaline.
Absolutely. I mean, I got to watch people do some qualifiers today in the gym while I was training, and it got me excited. It got my juices going. Like, I want to do this qualifier, which we'll get to. We'll get to the Legends qualifiers.
Yep.
One thing that we didn't touch on last week, Rick, we just, we had so much to talk about, but, along with the CrossFit Games in Birmingham here was the Legends Classic, which was their first sort of team event in combination with the games. Not the first time the Legends has done teams. They do that at the Legends Championship as well, but this was the Legends Classic. And how many teams was there? 60 teams, Rick, altogether? I mean, it's a huge amount of teams that competed over the weekend.
You're asking me
Thursday,
to do math
Friday, Saturday
on live here. So that's 31, 46, and don't forget that division, 40. About 63 teams or so.
That's wild.
60 teams in 3 different divisions. That's great. In 35 to 44. 45 to 54, and then 55 plus. It was great to see they included it because it helped sell more tickets. There were certainly more folks there because of the teams. They were teams of 4, so that already that many more athletes. And I know we talked about it, and some others have mentioned about how sometimes the warm-up area felt a little crowded at times, and that's because of the heat times when you were up against it with team event warming up then. Now, they didn't compete all of the days. However, I think it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I think it was well received. Were variations of what the individuals had, and good tests, and saw so many familiar faces. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad they included and had the Legends Classic same time.
So
and didn't hold it on like a separate weekend.
No, it's same weekend. So there was something big going on all the time on the floors. There was something always going on. And, I'll even say in the warm-up area that I enjoyed seeing all the teams warming up and being able to, have that camaraderie with people that we've seen at multiple events, throughout the year. And now they're here on a team having a great time. I don't know about you. I didn't have any issues warming up. We've experienced a busy warm-up area at the games historically. There were times when we were overlapping with teams at the games, and Rich Froning and his team are warming up next to me on a platform. They're squatting and I'm snatching. I mean, that's something that you always find yourself kind of navigating a whirlwind in the warm-up area. I do think there could have been more machines back there, but again, having that many people created this buzz back there. Like, there's just so much happening. So I'm all for the teams, crossing over to our competition and having it be a big Masters celebration. And it would be really cool down the road if there was some sort of CrossFit Masters teams, if somehow that
was
sort of
officially
evolved.
recognized.
That'd be wild.
CrossFit Games for Masters.
Yeah. You'd see some interesting stuff happening out there, with teams starting to actually train together and do.
Absolutely.
It could be interesting for the sport.
Yeah. You'd have to figure out rules that make sense. Not everybody in the Masters can pick up and move somewhere like maybe some of the younger folks can. But if you make it a part of the games, there will be, I think, a positive reception to it, because most athletes, not all of them, but most will say, I really enjoy the team. I enjoy teamwork. I enjoy the camaraderie. It's fun to do a team event. It's hard work, but it's fun.
Absolutely. Now, we should share the results from the team event. You've got those results there.
Bear with me here as
for each division.
Navigate through here. But, the first was the 35 to 44 age group. Huda, win. Box 48 CrossFit coach. And then third place, Boulder athlete. So do need to give a shout out to the Boulder athletes. And I think you wanted to.
I do. I have a funny story about these guys. So this is a Boulder athlete team. So I know them well. I train with Lauren on a daily basis. So she was a member of the team. I talk with Mike McCaslin on a almost daily basis, who was on the team, and just love Greg and Allison as well. So the funny math about this, they took third place, and about 4 months ago, I would say 3 months ago when they signed up, Mike McCaslin, who is a fan of the show and a listener, and he's hopefully embarrassed right now, he created an entire spreadsheet with all of the athletes on all of the teams and calculated their scores and their performances, I think through quarterfinals and maybe the open, but maybe just quarterfinals, in order to determine, based on the overall performance of each one of the athletes on each team, what place Boulder athletes should get at the Legends Classic. And he predicted, based on everyone's abilities, regardless of the workouts, they should get third place. And so the running joke was always, you know what, all you need to do is walk up there, give Bob and Joe, hey, take a look at the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We will accept our third place prize and we will go home. Like, checkmate. We're not even going to compete. It's been written. We are going to take third place. And so he predicted it. And sure enough, they got third place. Now, it was a battle. And I don't believe, I think they actually had to perform during the last workout specifically in order to get third place.
They did. So, over folks that I know from CrossFit Sanctum, it was close. Let's see, that's 11, 12, 13 points clear in third place. And I think I believe that was the two-parter. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was the two-parter. So hats off to Boulder Athlete, but I know Sanctum was pushing them all weekend.
I mean,
that third place.
To be fair to Sanctum, it was a mathematical certainty.
Yes. They didn't know that. Now I'm going to have to make sure they know this.
Yes, tell them the math didn't add up. There was no chance
no
based
way
on the math.
I think they were second going into the final 2 workouts and slid back to fourth. I'm not sure, but they'll yell at me on that one. 35 to 54. Another athlete there was on that team. They were well clear. 55 points clear of Soul Takers, who took second, and then Team Canada Master stood on the podium in the third place position there. And so that's our age groups, 5 to 54. So again, they had not as many workouts as we did, but most all of them were some variation of what we were doing, just paired up together. And then a nice category here, which had 17 teams. So there was, I think the Legends folks are happy with the participation. There was 55 plus. So 17 teams. Little Rock Legends title by just 4 points over another CODA team. And then I like this name, Perfect Strangers, third place, Team High Point by just 4 points for the podium.
Man,
in the third place
that's
spot.
tight.
So Perfect Strangers got it done. So they had it as part of the weekend. It was really
absolutely. Congratulations to those teams. It was really fun to see them competing out there. Really fun to hang out with them in the warm up area, and then a lot of them stuck around for our events as well, and made for great camaraderie all around at the games. So more of that to come, please. Would be great. We would like that. Now let's move on. I have on my notes, Rick, let's jump into these Legends qualifiers. All right.
Sure.
This is
hit the
something
tab.
I love doing. I love nerding out when there's a qualifier, especially one that I'm not doing. I believe I haven't got a confirmation. I believe that I'll receive an automatic invite based on either winning the Legends last year or participation in the CrossFit Games, you're like top 10 or something.
Top
but
10 is what their website talked about, and they will not backfill from the top 10. If someone in the top 10 can't make it, they'll backfill a spot from the qualifier. So that's good.
Got it.
So the more people doing the qualifier, more spots are open, and there's some good size fields.
And I don't know. I think you and I would both encourage people that if you haven't done a Legends Championship, or you haven't been there, it's a phenomenal event. It's absolutely great.
It is a good test.
It's a test. If you want to practice a CrossFit Games experience, the Legends Championship would be a great way to do that. You're going to get 3 or 4 days, normally 4 days of very challenging workouts they're tough. And so in preparing for the games this year, we did a number of games events from history. We also did a number of Legends events from historical competitions, because there's just, we knew that was going to have a blending way about that there's a
programming it. Why not?
Type. Yeah. I mean, might as well practice that stuff. Now we have a whole new set of CrossFit games to practice when it comes to next year. So it's a great event. And these qualifiers are also no joke. I can't say that I've ever looked at the Legends qualifiers and thought, oh, this is just going to be a piece of cake. They're all tough. So let's jump into, there's 4 workouts, 5 scores. So we'll just give an overview of what the workout is if you haven't seen them. And then Rick and I'll give our takes on, how we would approach this workout for those that are planning to do the events. And then also it's a fun way to just think about, I've got a certain way that I think I would approach this workout, and Rick does too. And we'll just share our unique strategies. We haven't shared our strategies with each other on this.
No. So there's one capacity is different than the other. So one would think there are going to be some very different strategies to this.
Well, I mean, you got 5 years on me, man. In 5 years, we'll see what I do as a 5 year, 4 years, whatever age gap is.
I'll remember that. 24.1. It's a chipper, classic chipper. And as much as I like chippers on paper, they always end up, I crash and burn. But it's a 10-minute cap, 100 double unders, 50 wall balls, 25 bar facing burpees, 50 hang cleans, and back up to finishing with 100 double unders. So you're bookending the double unders with wall balls and hang cleans, and then stuck in the middle are bar facing burpees.
Yep.
Pretty standard. The barbell. 115 for the men, 75 for the women. And we're just going to talk about the overriding weights or heights for the majority of the age groups.
And quite a few of these for the age groups, as I was going through this, I saw that mostly 35 through 49, sometimes through 54 had the same reps or weights. And I did take a look, if you were in that 55 to 59 age group, 60 to 64, I think the scaling is appropriate. It's still challenging. You're still doing high skill efforts. The 60 plus are doing bar muscle ups as part of one of the final workouts. So it's a good test all around for all age groups. And I think scaled appropriately, although I would say that, a 35-year-old and a 49-year-old or a 54-year-old doing the same exact weights, it's a slightly different workout for the 35-year-old.
Absolutely.
We're going to see, hugely faster times. I think they could. I'm not going to critique. Look, I'm not programming this. I'm not. They're going to get the right people there for the Masters. But I think that they could give the 35 to 39-year-old demographic more of a challenge. And I think that would attract more athletes that are maybe on the fringe of whether they want to do it or not as a Masters. I think they want to be challenged, but I don't have any evidence on that. So that's pure speculation, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, 115-pound barbell on these hang cleans for our age group or whatever, I mean, is a weight you can move, but it's a weight I think you can race in the very young age groups, and that's very different, move versus race.
And it could still be, it's still a race, and it's still going to get the best athlete there because that 35-year-old's going to never set that barbell down.
Yeah.
And that's so gross to think about doing 50 hang power cleans broken. It's just a forearm and just a cardio nightmare. But
yeah, give him 135. But yes, it is a chipper, pyramid chipper, however you want to describe it. I don't know what the official terminology is. You're the programmer. I'm not, but
out and back. I think it's an out and back style.
It's one where I think you're going to have to break early. Just because there's so much work at the end. Once you get past the bar facing burpees, which you just kind of methodically move through, those 50 hang cleans you're going to be breaking, and you're going to not have a lot left in the tank for the 100 double unders. 100 double unders fresh is one thing, so, but why bother?
If you were about to do this, call your shot. How would you specifically get your way through this?
Coming off a gross wall ball workout at the games.
Dude, you got to put that out of your mind. Imagine that never happened, because that's PTSD. We're walking dead men right now, so we have to imagine that we didn't do that. Because that was,
100 double unders, fresh, first out of the gate, you could do them unbroken. A lot of folks could. I don't think it's wise. I would break it into multiple sets. Be quick on the breaks, just enough to just take a small break because you've got 50 wall balls. I would break those wall balls up. For me, smaller sets than for you. I'll let you obviously speak for yourself. I'm sorry, but for me, again, the first 10 are going to feel great, but I'm worried about how much energy do I have in reps 30 through 50 because I'm going to have to do 25 bar facing burpees immediately thereafter. So maybe 5 sets of 10, or maybe something like a 15, 10, 10, or something like that. I just don't go for a big set. You will feel fresh. Don't do it because you need it on the other side. Burpees, methodical. I don't think you break those, obviously, unless you trip or fall or clip the bar and you got to redo the burpee. Means by that point, you're going to be feeling it. For me, small set, maybe 10s, guessing, and then hold on for dear life on the double unders. I will break because fatigue double unders, there's always a great potential for a trip. So that's a break. I won't maybe plan to break unless I trip, which I generally do just because I'm so tired. So there's my break. That's a terrible strategy.
That makes sense. It's funny. I love that you went first because I would probably have a very, very similar strategy. I like it.
Not bigger sets.
I thought about this.
Really? Okay.
Multiple sets, small sets on everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think double unders, I'm probably going to go, I'm going to want to go big, but I'd force myself to go 40, 30, 30 on double unders.
Yeah.
Unless I trip, at around those times. I'm just going to try to do that. Wall balls, I love 5 sets of 10 here. I don't think I want to set my soul on fire yet in this workout. So I think that's 5 sets of 10, and it's quick, manageable breaks. And knowing that, by the time I get to the wall ball number 30 and 40 and in the 50, obviously those are going to get a little bit tougher. So I'm just going to try to be methodical, be as efficient on those wall balls as I can, but I'm going to take breaks, I think, every 10. Bar facing burpees, you just do it. I'm just going to go there, and I'm going to try to be machine-like, methodical, no stopping, but also not racing. When I get to those hang cleans, I agree with you. I think the fatigue is going to be pretty high there. And if I could hang on to 5 sets of 10 with quick breaks to chip my way through that, for me, when I get to the double unders, I can do a set of 100 fatigued. So I'm going to try to blast through those 100 if I can. If I trip, I trip, but I'm going to get through those as quick as possible, probably unbroken on that. And on the hang cleans, I think they're going to feel better as we get deeper into them. So I might go set of 10. And then if I start to feel better, try to chip off a little bit bigger sets, but just kind of play that by ear. And I can always make an adjustment on the back half of the workout if I feel better than I expect. But if I go big on the front end of this workout, I think I'm going to just suffer terribly on the back half. So I think conservative front half, plan for a conservative back half, especially with those hang cleans. But if I have conserved energy properly, maybe the hang cleans will feel better than expected, and I can go slightly bigger than sets of 10. But that's how I get through this.
10-minute cap is pretty tight on this guy. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think so. If you go those first 100 double unders, if it's done right, even with breaks, you could probably be at a minute. The 50 wall balls, I think, takes 2.5 minutes. So there you're 3.5 minutes. 25 bar facing burpees is going to be probably
another couple
a minute
minutes.
45. Let's call it 2 minutes. So now we're at 5.5 minutes. 50 hang cleans. If you could get through that, you're going to burn some time there, like 2.5 minutes there. So now you're at 8 minutes. You get those last set of double unders done. You're going to be battling a clock there.
Okay.
Some age groups, in the 44 and under, they're, probably going to be in that 7 to 9 minute mark, right? I think the older age groups are going to be battling for the time cap.
Yeah, it could be very well capped with somewhere stuck in the double unders. Yeah.
I love the time cap. I love that it forces you a little bit to keep it moving. But yeah, it's a chipper that I'm just like you, Rick. I look at it and I think I have, the chipper at the games. That was one of the hardest chippers I've ever done, finishing with those 75 wall balls. And I did wall balls on, I think, Saturday or Monday this week. I guess both days, actually. And I am just not excited to do wall balls yet. And I really like wall balls. I really like them. But Bob and Joe have now, they've created some scar tissue for me. And now I got to work my way through it to enjoy wall balls again.
Well, wall balls, the last thing I'll say is it wasn't so much the feeling of those at the games. I had decent footing, but I've done some chippers in some other competitions where we've been on padding, underneath the rig, and you feel like you're doing wall balls in quicksand. And the more fatigued you get, it's just, I do not like that feeling. I'd rather do them on a hard surface, and instead your feet constantly moving. So that just gives me bad feelings on wall balls.
Totally agreed. You're losing some power. You're losing power as you throw it.
Correct.
Well, 24.2 is a 16-minute AMRAP. Correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, Rick. 60-minute AMRAP where we've got 20 calories on the rower for guys, 16 calories for ladies, 8 toes to bar, and 20 dumbbell shoulder to overhead. I initially thought that this workout had a double dumbbell shoulder to overhead, but it is specifically a single dumbbell shoulder to overhead.
Right.
So my initial strategy on this was, I was going to have a very aggressive breakup strategy on the dumbbell shoulder to overhead, because if it was double dumbbell for a 16-minute AMRAP, this is a shoulder burner. The fact that it's a single dumbbell really changes it. So here's my thought on this, Rick. My approach, this actually had me thinking a bit about the deadlift workout that we did in the open, where if you crushed the row, it messed with the rest of the workout. if you were moderate on the row, the rest of the workout was, certainly more pleasant to me the second time I tested it, but I was much quicker in the workout if I didn't try to just destroy the row. So my thought on this is I'm not going to sit back and coast on the rower. I'm looking for a pace that is sustainable, that I don't have to overly think about. Maybe I'm not sure exactly what calories per hour is that feeling for me just off the top of my head, but somewhere I'm not going to be rowing a 1400. Okay, I know I could row a 1400 and do that for the whole workout, or maybe 1300 as I get fatigued. But my thought is a slightly more conservative row and lose a couple of seconds there. But if I can be fast in my transitions to the toes to bar, which are always unbroken, and then the dumbbell shoulder to overhead, which are also always unbroken, I'm going to pick it up with my weak arm to get 10 out of the way, cross overhead, 10 out of the way with my strong arm, get back on that rower as quick as possible. Because you're going to be spending most of your time on the rower in this workout compared to the other two movements.
A little over a minute with transitions for the row piece.
Yeah, I think over a minute on the row, depending on your kind of recovery pace on the row. I think the toes to bar and the shoulder to overhead can take less than a minute for sure. So I think for me, this is maybe an 8-round workout. If you treat it like a 2-minute EMOM, every 2 minutes I complete a 20-calorie row, 8 toes to bar, 20 dumbbell shoulder to overhead. That would be an ideal workout for me. And maybe I get through. Okay. Maybe I get towards the end and I have conserved energy, and maybe I pick up that row on the final couple rounds. Those are just my thoughts.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, no, this looks like this has shades of their Legends qualifier workout where I think you were upside down. I think you might have rowed and then you did handstand push-ups and then something with a
dumbbell snatch.
Dumbbell. Yeah,
heavy dumbbell snatch. Yeah, that was last year, I believe.
Well, okay, and I watched somebody. I think I judged somebody do it, and it just it snuck up on you, and I can't remember the part that it was. I think it was more you're more on the rower than anything else, or the machine that was being used. Pretty sure it was the rower. I mean, here eight toes to bar. We just we know how quick, if you have some proficiency in toes to bar, how fast that'll be. And thank goodness it's one single arm, because I think that's a little bit of a trap.
Yeah.
And people will do 10 on one arm and 10 on the other, but knowing that you're going to be working for 16 minutes myself, maybe towards the middle part to hopefully not the end, but I might be setting the dumbbell down just a little bit, because you can't stop moving on the rower, and I don't want to break up the toes to bar because there are only 8 of them. If there was a bigger number,
correct,
might come into it, but the biggest part of that's 20 reps of something with a dumbbell. So it might not be 10-10 for everybody.
If you get through, 7 or 8 rounds of this, you're at 140 to 160 reps. I mean, this is
that's what I think about.
Huge that's amount of reps.
That's put the dumbbell down for me, but be quick. Be quick about it.
And if you do 8 rounds on the rower, for guys, that's 160 calories. That's the equivalent of a 2K row.
Yeah, so that's 8 minutes on the rower.
Think about
roughly.
The fatigue that builds in through that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the toes to bar.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think the toes to bar, if you do 8 rounds of toes to bar, you're still only at 64 toes to bar. That is just not a deal breaker, I don't think, for anybody.
No.
It is
because there's
filler.
time in between it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I haven't looked at the scorecard or how they want you positioned, but there's something where the rower will be a safe distance, but pretty close to the rig. So you get off that, grab the rig for the toes to bar, and then step in front, probably pick up the dumbbell right there, and then in a little triangle, move your way back over to the rower. Just kind of work. Sure. Again, that's a guess, but I know the scorecard's sitting here in front of me. I'm just not going to click on it right now. But
and the idea is, we'll just say this now. You're going to be videoing this if you're submitting it for qualification. So you definitely want to make sure that you set your and we just said this about the last workout as well, because you've got wall balls. You got to watch that wall ball, the depth on your hips on the wall ball, that your hips are open on a hang clean, your burpees are clearly in the screen. So make sure you pay attention to your video, where it's set up, what you can see, the angle that it provides for the judge. The whole idea with the video, in my opinion, is make it easy for your judge. Whoever's behind a screen looking at an iPhone camera video, which is a good video. But normally it's with the forward-facing camera, because you got WOD proof or WOD timer or whatever it is. filming you, so it's not the best camera. Just make it easy for them. Make sure your angles are right. Make sure the sun isn't glaring through a window into your camera. Just and make your setup as efficient as possible according to the scorecard, and then make it easy for the judges so they don't have to worry. They're not trying to zoom in to see your reps.
Spit is a little bit quieter on this topic, but Bob has been quoted as saying he hates looking at videos of folks that don't set things up properly. So I'm just warning you out there,
man. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, just don't get Bob pissed off looking at your video upside down, crooked, sideways, not in frame. Please make it easy. Double check your work.
You just stay on his good side, man. It's a better thing.
24.3. And we know who's programming these. This looks familiar. 4 of front squats, 4, 8, 12 of bar muscle ups. And the barbell is, decent weight, 205 for the men and 135 for the ladies. So there is a tie break. Let's see, tie break is going to be on the final squat and the set of 4s. So 12, 8, 4. So that third set of front squats. So it looks like you'll do 12 front squats, 4 bar muscle ups, 8 front squats, 8 bar muscle ups, then only 4 front squats, and you'll finish up with 12 bar muscle ups at the end. Have a time cap. It's funny they don't say that. It must be on the
9 minutes.
9 minutes? Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the scorecard. It's a 9-minute time cap.
Yeah. So interesting couplet. You get the benefit of descending reps on the front squats, which I'm sure will feel good. But then get your gymnastics ready because you're ascending in reps, and that's 24. That's a decent amount of bar muscle ups in a really short period of time.
This workout is. I think this is a 3.5 minute to 5.5 minute workout for some of the athletes looking to qualify. I think I watched athletes complete this one today, and we predicted 4 minutes, and it was around that range. So this is one where the front squats get pretty dirty because you think about the fact that you're doing you have 205, and even in my age group and your age group, Rick, we're at 185. That's no joke for our age groups.
That's semifinals.
If you in the first, exactly, and in the first part of the workout, you're doing essentially 20 front squats with 4 bar muscle ups in between.
That's a good point. Yeah.
In your mind, it's like, imagine doing 12 front squats, drop the bar, do something else for like 15 seconds. That's just kind of effortless. 4 is not hard. Then you're back at the barbell, and that's not a comfortable amount of reps at that weight for me. I don't think it is for you either.
No.
But then you flip that over, and now you've got 8 bar muscle ups, only 4 front squats, and now 12 bar muscle ups. So in the latter half, you have 20 bar muscle ups with a quick little 4 front squats in there that aren't easy. So it's got this it's a funny way that it's put together and how it devastates a human being. And like any workout where you've got the push-pull like this, you're going to experience a heart rate that just skyrockets fairly quickly. You also have no reprieve in this workout. Bar muscle ups do tax the core. They tax the triceps on that press out. And then you get the front squats in the front rack position. This is not restful for those areas. It's not restful on your grip.
Nope.
It's not restful for your core, your shoulders. Everything is compressed. So I kind of really like it as far as a torture mechanism, and it's time, because I think it's a very fast workout, like you said. So your strategy, how does Rick Stevenson get through this?
I pick up the bar. I am not going to put the bar down. That 185 bar I can handle for this amount of squats. I know I will be fatigued, and as much as I love bar muscle ups, a set of 12 for me probably is a 7 and 5, if not 6 and 6 toward the end. I know it's a single number for you, but as myself, where I know myself as an athlete, that's I will be breathing pretty heavily at the end of that. That will probably be broken up just from a fatigue factor. I don't want to fly off the bar.
I think you're right. It's just having watched a couple of people do it today, the fatigue in those last 12 bar muscle ups is very high. It's going to get the best of us. And while I think my plan going into this workout for me would be unbroken on everything. I would certainly reserve the right, if necessary, to drop at 8 or 9 muscle ups and then do 3 more. I remember it makes me think about the thruster bar muscle up workout from the CrossFit Open this year. Remember we had that, and I was going to go, can't remember how many bar muscle ups it was. I think it was 10 bar muscle ups.
7 rounds of
7. It was 5 rounds. I think 5.
Was it 5?
Was it 5 thrusters, 7 bar muscle ups or something like that?
Yeah, maybe that.
And 7 bar muscle ups is just nothing.
Because I was 4s and 3s. Yeah.
And I did 4 rounds of 7, and then the 5th round I did 5 and 2. I could not do 7, and it was just one of those things where like the fatigue was so high, and that was this drawn out workout. Now this
a little shorter
24.3 here, it's that 12 could get real spicy. The heart rate is high, the fatigue is high, there's no reprieve, everything hurts, and it may be one of those where, to keep myself from flying off the bar and getting injured, it may end up being a breakup at the very end. But I would plan, for me and my physical abilities here, plan to be going unbroken, but always call that audible on that set of 12, just depending on
in case
safety.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to slip off the bar. But fun work, I really like it. I loved watching it today, and I mentioned this earlier. I'm doing tempo back squats, which is not fun. The tempo today was hard, Rick. That was a very challenging tempo.
Yep, 4.
And they're doing front squats and muscle ups, and I'm just 4-second descent, 2-second hold. I mean, I can't even hold my breath that long, barely. I felt like I was drowning, and they're just having fun setting up for qualifiers. So let's move on to 24.4. And this is the 2-part workout. We've got 2 scores in one workout. This is classic qualifier stuff here. This is something you're going to see in almost all of the Legends type qualifiers. Last year, they tested the snatch in a 2 separate scored workout.
That's right.
Which was really creative last year. They did the snatch before, then a workout, then a snatch, and it was the combined total of the snatches plus the workout. It was really creative. This one is a little more straightforward. Part A is an 8-minute AMRAP. It's got 4 dumbbell deadlifts, 4 handstand push-ups. Each round, you add 4 more reps to both of those. That's part A. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of that in a second. Part B, at the 10-minute mark. So you get a 2-minute break after the AMRAP. At the 10-minute mark, you have 5 minutes to establish a max clean. Part A, 8-minute AMRAP. You've got these 4 deadlifts, and they're dumbbell deadlifts. The dumbbells are not heavy at all. I mean, we're talking 50-pound dumbbells for guys, all the way to age 54. And 35-pound dumbbells for ladies. So I really think the dumbbell deadlifts are almost a non-issue. Until you get into the round of 20, 24, I don't think you're ever setting down the dumbbells. They're just a nuisance.
No, I think you can hook grip that at the front of the dumbbell.
Yeah.
One bell touch. I haven't looked at the rules.
I didn't look at that specifically, but I'm sure it's one bell. It's just too hingy. It's way too deep. I can't even reach the ground with double dumbbell with both heads. So it's just a handstand push-up workout. In my mind, you think about this, right? So the first round, you go 4 and 4. What's that going to take? 20 seconds, right?
Right.
And then you go 8 and 8. And so you're going to be done with that before a minute. You're going to have accomplished 12 dumbbell deadlifts, 12 handstand push-ups in under the first minute, probably. And then you immediately are on to the set of 12.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you're on the set of 16. And once you've completed the set of 16, you've already done 40 handstand push-ups.
See, that's where
you're probably not even halfway through the workout.
Correct.
And you're at 40 handstand push-ups. Now this thing is going to get just the escalation of the reps.
That's a good way to think about it.
Is going to be so gross.
And again, not so
you
much
get through the
deadlifts.
16. You've already at the 16th, you've already done 40 reps. Your next set is 20 more handstand push-ups. Once you're at 60 handstand push-ups accomplished, your next set is 24 more. So I don't know about you. We do a lot of handstand push-ups in our training, but we're rarely doing kipping handstand push-ups in this condensed time frame. They're getting into the 60s and 80s or over 100, depending on how deep people go into this. So I'll tell you that my strategy on part A, I was just really trying to think about this, because there's the aggressive strategy that I think runs square into a brick wall. I think once you hit 40 handstand push-ups and you start trying to keep going with really big sets, you're going to be in trouble, I think. I think I would be in trouble, and I'm good at these. So I have a feeling that I think, obviously, round 1, I do 4. Round 2, I do 8. That's fine. I think round 3, I do 6 and 6.
Bingo. That's the round to start
4,
breaking. Yeah, it's the 12.
That's the round to start breaking. Yep. When I've got 16 to go, I don't think I do 8 and 8. I mean, maybe, but I don't. And I've been tossing. I swear, I've been thinking about this all day. This particular workout. I don't know why. It just bothers me because I think I would almost want to do 4, then 4, then 4, then 4, really quick. I want to get off my shoulders. I don't want time under tension to escalate as quickly. And if I was doing a bunch of handstand push-ups, we think about the workout, the 55s, that CrossFit Open workout that's 55 deadlifts, 55 wall balls, 55 calorie row, 55 handstand push-ups, and it's an AMRAP, right? You know, my most successful attempts in that workout had me doing sets of 5 on handstand push-ups. And if I just held it to sets of 5, I plow through the handstand push-ups. Anytime I would do something like 20 handstand push-ups, then sets of 5, I get into a big mess. And so I'm almost thinking on this, like maybe, and the other thing I want to say is that you could always test this workout and run into the brick wall, and you can retest it because you have 2 weeks. So you could try a couple of methods
different
here.
Ways. Yeah.
I also think it wouldn't be terrible to stick with sets of 4 on the handstand push-ups through this entire workout as just an absolute insult to logic. You just go 4, then 4, 4, then 4, 4, 4. Each round, you just do an extra set of 4. And like my brain could handle that. I think my shoulders could handle that. It would be really interesting to see how far I could get in 8 minutes, knowing that I'm breaking at 4, every set of 4, and maybe I'm choosing how many seconds or breaths I can take between those reps. I want to have a clock there. I want to watch the clock and not bleed off time during my rest period. But I think an argument can be made that deadlifts are unbroken, but handstand push-ups may be sets of 4 to get to the highest round. That's just a thought.
2 thoughts for me. Been stopped out by handstand push-ups in workouts before, and I don't even think I'm breathing that hard. It's just muscle fatigue. So when they go, they go. There's not a lot of warning. And the other thought was, just remember back to the games this year, the one they had a lot of handstand push-ups, watching Fikowski, who I'm sure has capacity to big sets. I don't know, small 3s and 4s himself, but it was a quick arm shake off the wall, get back up and do some more. Fall off the wall, arm shake, get back up on the wall. So there is, now that was counter to some of the other strategies out there on the floor. It proves your point that it's not that usual to think of when break up with small sets could be the answer for something like this because of the volume. And I dare say the people that get deep into this will probably do more handstand push-ups than what the elites did there at the games. I forget how many they had. Maybe they had 50 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's again, classic legends trap. It's not the dumbbells. It's going to be your time on the wall and muscle fatigue.
They just had to put something in there to break up the handstand push-ups. And I do like that it has the Diane feel to it. It has that classic pairing of the deadlifts and the handstand push-ups. And I'm not going to say that the dumbbell deadlifts are going to be easy when you're doing a set of 24. Your shoulders are going to be screaming a little bit there because there's going to be some fatigue there. There's a difference between regular deadlifts and dumbbell deadlifts to me, in the sense that I have to control those dumbbells a little bit with some shoulder stabilizers. They're not just hanging the way that a barbell does. So the shoulders are in play a little bit on the deadlifts, which then in my mind reinforces the argument that small professor-like reps on the handstand push-ups might be correct. And boy, do I want to test this out.
Okay.
Don't be surprised if this is in Boulder Athlete Programming at some point in the next week or 2.
Okay.
I might accidentally have this in there.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So part A, and then you
that's
come off
the 8
that.
minutes.
You got 2 minutes.
Right. 2 minute break.
I imagine, although we're going to assume that you can have your first barbell loaded.
Preloaded.
I'm sure that's in the notes. It's logical. That's almost how they always do it. Be sure to check the notes to compare. So I think we're just going to go off the fact that we're pretty sure. Okay.
Yep. While you're talking,
when you come off something like that, how many lifts can you think you can get in that 5 minutes?
Get 5 minutes. So you will start right at, chances are you'll be ready to start, belt. shoes, what I mean,
change your shoes.
Yeah, you know,
whatever you need to do.
loaded. I mean, right at that, let's see, at the 10-minute mark, you're going to be ready for a lift. So I'm going to say 4.
I agree.
4 was a number I think fits in 5-minute window if you can start your lift at the beginning of the 5 minutes.
Right.
And you're
at
not
3, 2, 1 lift.
Yeah, your 3, 2, 1 lift, not with the weights.
And do you open
that first one is sketchy. The second
the
one feels better. Yeah. First one, I don't try to take a big bite off of that one.
Agree. And I think that's interesting. I was really chewing through this one too, trying to figure out, where would I start here? My first impression in my mind is like, I'm going to start at, 75% of my 1 rep max. I got to do the math here. 5 times.
Till you figure out what 75% actually is and how you'll feel
75% is, 75% for me is 225. And so that feels a little heavy. I might think more like 65%. I would love to open with like 205 for me. And 205 is one of those weights where like, I don't think about it. It's heavier than 185, but I don't think about it. It's just not convenient to have that barbell set up if I know that I'm going to be going higher. But in a perfect world, I assume that you can have help with the weights. Again, this is an assumption, but this is very traditional that you can have help with the weights. Very rarely are you changing your own weights in a 5-minute window with cleans. So I'd like to open with like 65% of my 1 rep max.
You're right on both. You're right on both accounts. Good. Just so we clear this out, so you can keep your train of thought. Bar may be preloaded or the allotted 5 minutes begins, and you may also receive assistance with loading and changing weights. Cool. So they're making it easy for you.
I'm going to have a plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to have on a whiteboard very clear what weights I want my people to put on. So I'll start with 205. Then I'm going to skip 75%, and I'm probably going to go to 80% from there. And the 80% is going to be, my CNS is really stimulated. We're in a qualifier. I just finished part A. By the time I hit this next lift, this like 80% lift, my fatigue level is going to be dropping. As I do, that I've got 2 minutes to recover. I get through that first lift, and I'm not going to do the 240, which would be my 80%. And there's other people that have much higher percents than me for sure. But that 240 comes at about the 2-minute mark. And I just get that. Again, this is more of a grease the groove type lift for me, that 80%. I know I can do it. I know under fatigue I can do it. Our clean at the games was less than this. So boom, I'm just get that out of the way. And then I know I've got 2 more lifts. Now I'm going to go for a heavy lift next. I'm going to go for a lift that like, this is heavy. I got to think about it. This may be somewhere like 90% probably, right? Where I really got to think about it, but it's 90%. I know I can hit 90%. And then my 4th lift for me is going to be that stretch. This is where I'm going to try to get to that, depending on how I feel, 95, 98% range, which is crazy because this is part B of a workout. But normally in this type of qualifier, my CNS is still stimulated. The fatigue level is dropping. I'm feeling good. I've got a camera on me. I'm going to use the adrenaline and hit that bigger lift. In fact,
you're primed and ready to go.
I've hit a PR on a clean in a similar situation in quarterfinals 2023. That's when we had a clean after a lot of work, right? And I hit a PR there. So it's always interesting to see what your body's capable of in these situations. But I think, if you hit that 4th lift and you do that at like the 4-minute mark, there's going to be a temptation to try to get a 5th lift, and there's not going to be enough time.
No.
There's just not.
Last point on that is also in the rules here, the barbell must be off the ground before time expires, but the lift may be completed after the 15-minute mark. So that's something to think about.
That's really great to know.
Yeah. That is straight from the scorecard.
I think that gives you some permission to go for maybe that extra lift.
That Hail Mary.
A little insurance in case you miss one, right? If it doesn't go perfect, you have some wiggle room in there.
So those are our tests for legends. I was going to say fitness in a box, as you knew it was going to have. It was going to have to be in the area that will fit inside a camera, but they incorporate a machine. They've got some gymnastics. They have a heavy lift. You have a 2-parter, a longer piece, that 16-minute AMRAP, and a nasty chipper and a couplet. I think they really have, I'm no programming expert, but they checked a lot of boxes.
They did. And I think they generally kept themselves from super controversial movements. Bar muscle ups with toes getting high, that can be a little challenging to see in the video, but normally it doesn't become a huge issue. But we don't have box step up kind of issues. There's
no box.
I don't think there's a whole lot of controversial. You never know, but I don't think there's anything in here that's going to make it really hard.
Long floor, so there's no lunging, there's no stepping, there's no shuttle runs, and there's no handstand walking. So they don't have to incorporate the funny camera angles. Now, unfortunately, some people might want to see some of that, but guarantee you'll be walking on your hands in Phoenix. Just be ready for
it. Yeah, be ready for it. That is going to happen. And they have done walking lunges in the past. They have done that.
Gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you have a pick of the week, Rick? I know we're long on time, but I think we got to share them. You have one and I have one.
I'm leaning over to get it here. Back is bad and all. I think I need another Motrin here tonight. But camera, if I can remember, I'll send you the link so we can put it in the show notes here. It is an ultrasonic cleaner. It is for my wave mouthpieces. I have a couple of them. Struggled with keeping the first one clean. Didn't like that. I don't like to brush them or anything like that. So I found this cleaner, a little tablet in, some water, and press a button, plug it in. I think it maybe a 5-minute cycle. And I feel like it's cleaning. I do it very regularly for both the mouthpieces in there every few days. And that just gets me a little less skittish about not having those clean. And I'll tell you what, I did not travel with this out to the games, and I was missing it. So I was over the sink, taking care of those mouthpieces as much as I possibly could. But it's very easy. Put it on the counter, and it's done in 5 minutes. Come back, dry them off. It takes no time or effort, and you know that they're clean. So,
man, I love that.
Good little gadget.
I am a huge fan of cleanliness. So I struggled with that. With Airwave, because I just couldn't figure out how am I going to keep this thing clean.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick, what's really funny is there's going to be some listeners that will say, yeah, I've never cleaned my Airwave. There's going to be some comments. In fact, I beg people that are this deep into the show, if you have an Airwave and you don't clean it, leave a comment just to share with the world the fact that
flip side is they're like, Rick, why do you go every 3 days? Why don't you clean it nightly? I'm like, well, because I don't have that much 3 days. Yeah. They're like, that's
offensive too,
Rick. I can't believe you don't do that. Like, okay, yeah, you're going to get both. What's your pick of the week?
All right, my pick of the week is the DJI Osmo 3. Okay, this is just, this stick is a camera. All right, this is what I use for all of my vlogging and like my YouTube channel. So my camera's not going to focus on it, but this is a screen. This is a camera on the tip, and it's a gimbal. So I can go side to side. It's going to stay level. I can go forward and back. It's like the big contraptions that photographers have, and I have one of those big gimbals. This is on a teeny head. This is a 4K recording that I can record on this. So my recent YouTube videos, all of my documentation of the games, all on this, if you can imagine.
Cool.
So this is a stand for it, and it's great for selfies. If I push this button 3 times, it turns around, and now I'm talking to myself. The camera is facing me, and so I can just do that, or if I want to point it back at you, I push 3 times. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can see the camera just flips around. I can also just flip the screen to vertical, and now I'm recording in the vertical format, which is a 3K format. And this is for Reels and Shorts and TikTok if I did more there. So it's really, really handy. You just get a huge little SD card. I have a 256 gigabyte card in here. Recorded 4 full days of competition at the CrossFit Games with it, and it's just so good. You can run with this. You could do all kinds of crazy stuff with this if you want to. You got to be careful. It's not indestructible, but the quality is unbelievable. And I mean, I have an iPhone. I love the cameras on the iPhone.
Right.
It's one of the best cameras that you can have, but it is just not as handy as this little thing on its own tripod.
I think the gimbal feature really pays for itself right there.
So Gina used to use this big contraption with my camera on it in the garage, and it just would wear you out. So now when she's doing video in the garage, I mean, she can literally like weave this through the ski erg to get get video of me. Really interesting videos because it's just so nimble. And for $400, $500, $600, that's not cheap. It's
right. Correct.
But for me, it's part of my livelihood. It's a tool that I use. And for those of you out there that are looking to create a little more content, it is hands down amazing.
Well,
I mean, golly, I wish they sponsored me in some way, but I don't think they sponsor CrossFitters. They have they're a billions of dollar company.
Listeners of the show, though, remember the story we told last year. Please don't leave that in the shopping cart in Kroger in Fort Wayne. Okay, I will have my eyes on you if we go shopping. Midwest
I can't believe
Nice
I left it.
only carries you so far. Okay, just remember that.
It was okay. Yes, that was almost an $800 loss that day. That was a bad day.
Take it with you to go grocery shopping
and leave it in the cart, which is
right
in the cart in the parking lot. To be fair, Midwest Nice was great. I mean, if there's anything you can say about Fort Wayne is that some good Samaritan found a $800 camera in the parking lot and turned it in to the service desk.
That was awesome.
That's pretty cool.
All right, sir.
Rick, always good to see you.
Likewise.
To our audience, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.